Angelica and Tommy, who's visiting Angelica at her house, are watching TV. Angelica's favorite TV show, a locally produced educational children's show titled Miss Carol's Happy House, comes on. Angelica's immediately excited and drawn into it. When Tommy wants to ask her something, she tells him to be quiet. The hostess, Miss Carol, starts the program off with what she calls Miss Carol's super duper fun phrase, where she asks her young happy helper Shannon, what does Miss Carol think of her kids? Shannon replies, which Angelica's lip syncs along, she thinks they're fun-orific. Miss Carol then proceeds to mention that the coming of Monday starts a brand new month, which also means there will be a new fun phrase and a brand new happy helper, much to Shannon's disappointment. She then directs her happy helper to a barrel of postcards sent in by other children wanting to audition to be Miss Carol's new happy helper, including Angelica herself, to help pick out which children will have a chance to audition to be the new happy helper. Angelica hears Miss Carol read her name on the postcard she sent in, immediately runs to tell her parents the exciting news, excitedly screaming along the way. A day or so later, Angelica and her mother, Charlotte, are at the TV studio. Angelica is being interviewed by the show's director, Miss Stephanie, and other kids are chosen are waiting in line. After they're done, Miss Stephanie tells Angelica to watch the show to see if she's one of the finalists. Just as Charlotte congratulates her daughter and embraces her, she gets a call from Jonathan and takes her eyes off her daughter. Angelica sees the show's hostess, Miss Carol, going into her dressing room and decides to sneak off over to see her up close. Quite surprisingly, unlike her character, Miss Carol is actually very stuck-up, snooty, and impatient. Also, she doesn't appear to be appreciative of her job, nor of the children with whom she works. No sooner does Miss Stephanie come in to see Miss Carol than the latter begins giving the former orders like a Hollywood actress would. Angelica, however, is far from bothered by this at all. The director apologizes that the interviews are taking a long time in keeping her from Miss Carol's own demands. She does inform Miss Carol that the writers will have come up with a new fun phrase. She enthusiastically explains to Miss Carol that when she asks the kids what her character thinks of them, they reply, she thinks they're all swell. Oh, Matt. This, however, fails to impress Miss Carol herself, who then decides to liven things up in her own by telling the director what she really thinks of her kids. Oh, you call that a fun phrase? I'll tell you what the real fun phrase is. She thinks we're all little, but before I have a chance to hear the final word, sentence, an old utility vehicle passed by and honks its horn. The final word she said has been censored. Angelica, however, hears every single word and misunderstands what just happened. Wow! If that's the real new fun phrase, then I'm the onlyest kid who knew it. Oh, Miss Carol will be really happy when she hears me say it. Back at Angelica's house, Angelica, Charlotte, and Dee Dee are watching the episode announcing the three finalists. Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and Lil are in the playpen nearby. Angelica is announced as one of the finalists, and Charlotte expresses how excited she is for her daughter. Miss Carol reminds the finalists back at home that they will all appear on the show tomorrow and introduces a new fun phrase. Miss Carol then ends that day's show, and Angelica turns off the TV. She immediately starts making a list of things they need to do to get her ready, but Charlotte stops her and tells her not to worry, adding that she's sure Miss Carol will think Angelica's fun-orific. She mentions to Dee Dee that that's called the fun phrase. Angelica, however, decides to inform her mother what she thinks of the new real fun phrase. She thinks we're a little similar to before. Outside the house, a truck passes by honking its horn. Charlotte also shrieks in shock. In the living room, Charlotte collapsed on the couch from what she just heard Angelica say, and Dee Dee fans Charlotte with a magazine. Angelica, however, misunderstands her mother's reaction as excitement and immediately runs off to startle Cynthia. Charlotte immediately consults with Dee Dee on what to do, wondering if she could wash her daughter's mouth out with soap, or if soap is toxic, whether she could use toothpaste. Dee Dee agrees that what Angelica said was shocking, but tells Charlotte not to overreact. Dee then pulls her new Lipschitz electronic pocket reference and consults it for advice on bad words. She types in the swear so it can give the accurate advice based on the severity of the word, and advises them to sit Angelica down and calmly explain to her that the word is unacceptable. Meanwhile, in the playpen, Chucky wonders how a word could be bad, and Tommy figures that a bad word is a word that people don't want to hear. Phil then decides to share what he thus thinks is really a bad word. Bath. Later, Angelica's parents have sat her down to explain the problematic word and how she should not use it. but all they tell Angelica is that her fun phrase has a bad word in it, that it would make them very happy if she stopped using it. Angelica asks which word is the bad word. Drew and Charlotte are, however, too hesitant to say the specific word and simply tell her not to say any of the words in the sentence anymore. And Angelica decides to ask about each word individually. Is it were? Is it all? Is it little? Only upsetting her parents with each question she asks. Just when Angelica reaches a final word in the sentence, her parents angrily stop her and say that will not make her to be on TV if she says the word. But wanting to be sure, Angelica asks about the final and fateful word in the sentence. Oh, you mean it's... Now the word is censored with a construction worker using a jackhammer. Just like before, Charlotte screams. Angelica cries in her room, having been sent to her room for saying the word and banned from going on the show. She complains that she doesn't even know what the word means and continues crying. Later, Angelica decides to play it sorry and apologizes to her parents. She also promises to never use the bad word again if they take her to be on TV. It works, and they all hurry to the studio. Meanwhile, the director is just finishing up lecturing the other two finalists, a little boy named Timmy and a little girl named Kim, on what the correct fun phrase is. When they ask, the girls reply, she thinks they're all swell-o-matic and Miss Stephanie is certain they'll do a good job. She then wonders where Angelica is. Right on cue, Angelica and her parents hurry into the studio. Drew and Charlotte head up into the audience, and while Angelica takes her place with all the other contestants on stage, no one has explained to Angelica what it is she needs to say and what not to say. No sooner is everybody in place than the director takes her place behind the camera and counts down the airtime. The show goes live, and Miss Carol opens the show with Stu, Dee, Lou, and the babies watching from Tommy's house. Miss Carol reminds the viewers that they will determine which finalists will be chosen on the new Happy Helper by seeing who's the best at saying the new fun phrase. She starts by asking Timmy, what does Miss Carol think of her kids? Timmy freezes up in front of the camera and is unable to say a word. The lately irritated Miss Carol decides to move on, trying her best not to show a hint of disgust. Next, she asks Kim, what does Miss Carol think of her kids? Kim, however, has trouble as well, and is also unable to say a word of the new fun phrase. She runs off the stage, crying for her mother. Now, Miss Carol turns to Angelica, who's still not aware of the correct thing to say, and asks her, what does Miss Carol think of her kids? Angelica, remembering her promise, very softly, slowly, and nervously says the only thing she can think of, what she heard Miss Carol say in her dressing room, but stops in hesitation before she can say the bad word at the end. Her parents are also signaling from afar not to say the word. Miss Carol has had enough and grows irritated that no one could say the fun phrase. She loses her cool and angrily orders that, if she loves Miss Carol at all, Angelica will say the fun phrase. Now ordered, Angelica triumphantly repeats the entire sentence out loud and clear. She thinks we're all little. Charlotte screams her the censor. This is followed by Drew covering his eyes in dismay and saying, oh no. Back at Tommy's house, Stu, Dee, and Lou are also shocked from seeing the whole thing on TV. Now furious, Miss Carol orders Angelica to be taken away. However, Angelica yells that what she has uttered is what Miss Carol had said. Now completely fed up with her career and the kids, and so irritated that no one longer cares, Miss Carol openly confesses that she did say that. She fiercely throws her microphone off stage and is let out by repeating herself, you're all little! However, the swear never makes it onto the air. Cruz just pulled the plug this time, and they look at each other in shock by what they saw Miss Carol say and do. Angelica feels vindicated and tells the audience, she did say it! Later at home, Angelica's watching the show, and Miss Carol has been replaced by the director herself as the new hostess. The show has been renamed Miss Stephanie's Happy House. Timmy from earlier is also her happy helper. It isn't quite clear to whether Angelica approves of the new hostess or not, as she is now more saddened by how she no longer gets to be on TV. Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and all come over to tell Angelica how sorry they feel for her when they wonder what the bad word meant. All the sniffling Angelica can answer is, all my daddy would tell me is that some people feel bad and I'm not supposed to say it. So just leave me alone, you dumb babies. Chucky then points out when Angelica calls the babies dumb, it makes them feel bad. Tommy adds that perhaps dumb is a bad word too. Angelica agrees not to call them dumb babies much. Angelica plays Little Miss Executive with the babies. Aside from Chucky, the babies aren't having any fun dealing with Angelica's demands. Charlotte enters the room, pausing her tasks around the house to yell at Jonathan on the phone for being 15 minutes late bringing her important documents. A few seconds later, Jonathan shows up at the house with the confidential information that Charlotte demanded, but Charlotte feels it's inadequate, saying that she told Jonathan to dig up dirt on the competition. Charlotte feels forced to do the job herself and leaves Jonathan in charge of the babies, the housework, and keeping Angelica entertained. Charlotte leaves before Jonathan can protest. Jonathan is fed up with mistreatment and decides to dig up some dirt on his boss to get back at her. The other babies overhear him and assume he wants to play in the dirt instead of deal with Angelica. Angelica forces Jonathan to play Little Miss Executive, and Jonathan agrees, figuring he'll be able to snoop around when he needs to get things for Angelica. Angelica fires the other babies and makes Jonathan sit at Chucky's desk, which makes Chucky upset. Tommy sees Jonathan's unhappy face and feels sad that Jonathan can't lay in the dirt. Jonathan then says he will get Angelica a fresh cup of coffee and heads with the mug to Snoop. While he's gone, the babies all gather the potted plants from around the house and dump the soil from them into the hallway, hoping Jonathan will play in the pile. But Angelica yells for him to come back, and he slips on the pile of dirt before running off to see what Angelica wants. Tommy wonders why Jonathan didn't play in the dirt. Phil thinks that Jonathan probably wanted dirt with worms in it instead of plain potted soil. Jonathan manages to get away from Angelica again and snoops through the desk. He thumbs through old pictures of Charlotte looking for something embarrassing. But the babies arrive with the dirt and worms and dump them onto Jonathan's lap. He panics and runs into the bathroom to clean them up, leaving a trail of dirt. Angelica follows Jonathan to the bathroom and scolds him for going potty instead of entertaining her. Charlotte then calls Jonathan's phone to check in. Angelica answers it to complain. This earns Jonathan an earful from Charlotte. After he hangs up, Angelica declares she is still bored and decides to have a board meeting in her dining room. She rehires the babies and they follow her reluctantly, except Chucky, as he's happy to get his desk back. In the dining room, Angelica's talking at length about the pretend company. Jonathan tries once more to get away, but Angelica demands he stay put. Lil then whispers that she saw a Reptar movie where the lizard dug a hole to the side of the world to escape the mole people. The babies figure Jonathan wants to do the same to get away from Angelica. Tommy makes another plan, and the babies put into action. Phil and Lil get down from the chairs and the table and begin screaming and running around. Angelica chases them, trying to catch them. Tommy and Chucky then go outside to start digging a big hole to the other side of the world. With all the kids distracted, Jonathan goes snooping again, enters the den and sees lots of VHS tapes of home movies, mostly of Angelica's first. Finds one more labeled Angelica and Charlotte and watches it. Towards the end, the camera pans over to Charlotte wearing a bathrobe and mud mask with messy hair. Jonathan takes the tape, planning on showing it to all the employees at Megacore. At that point, Angelica enters, having caught the twins. She demands that Jonathan feed the babies vegetables as punishment, but Jonathan refuses. He declares he no longer cares what Angelica or Charlotte say since he'll ruin Charlotte's reputation with the tape. He is interrupted by the sound of Charlotte arriving at the house. Angelica skips on to tell Jonathan, who tries speaking out a window over the back fence. Jonathan runs toward Tommy and Chucky and the hole they were digging. Jonathan trips on the hole and lands into a pile of loose dirt. Charlotte and Angelica enter the backyard to confront Jonathan. Charlotte demands to know why there is dirt all over the house. Jonathan snaps at Charlotte, saying that he plans on showing everyone at the company the Angelica and Charlotte tape and taking Charlotte down to a peg. To his and Angelica's surprise, Charlotte isn't angry. In fact, she's impressed by his initiative, offering him a promotion. Charlotte then turns to Angelica and blames her for dirt all over the house. Angelica tries insisting that the babies were the ones to bring the dirt into the house, but Charlotte doesn't believe her. She punishes Angelica with no dessert for a week before taking Jonathan with her to strategize getting more dirt on the competition. Tommy feels bad that they couldn't help Jonathan, but Angelica angrily stomps toward them, ready to get back at them for getting in her trouble. Tommy and Chucky dig into the hole faster, trying to get away from Angelica.